Today I'm making Reese's and banana blondies. I'm doing this gluten-free. This recipe works great gluten-free, but it doesn't have to be. So let's get started. I'm going to get my bowl and I'm adding in some melted butter. And then next I'm adding in light brown sugar. And then we're going to give that a mix. I'm using a spatula instead of a whisk because I don't really want to whisk too much air into this. So we're just mixing this until it's combined. It may look a bit separated at this point, but that's totally fine because when we add in the eggs, it will all bind together. So now I'm going to add in the eggs and banana. Do you want the banana to be mashed? I think smashed might be a better word for it. With the bananas, you want them to be overly ripe, to be honest. My bananas look like this. They're good for eating, but when baking with bananas, you want them to be slightly black, maybe slightly squishy in texture. They're the sweetest, they've got more flavour. So add in the egg and banana. Also, I need to add in my vanilla as well. Again, mixing this in just until it's combined. We just want this to be looking a bit more cohesive. Next is to add in the flour. I am using Dove's Farm today. This has been the best brand when it comes to gluten-free baking. The supermarket ones might be good now, but when I've used them before, and this would have been a couple of years ago, they just weren't as good, particularly Asda. I'm hoping they've gotten better, but they're one I did not like for baking. In goes the flour, and I'm also adding in a pinch of salt as well. Now it's time to fold this in. Because I'm doing this gluten-free, I really don't have to worry about over mixing it. So we're just mixing in until most of the flour is combined. So now it's time to add in the Reese's. Normally I would use the 90-gram bags of mini Reese's, the ones that don't have the foil around them. However, they are so expensive. So what you can do is you can use the bigger ones and then chop them into nice sized chunks, but I saw these on sale. So this one is like a mixture between the milk chocolate and the white chocolate buttercups. With the amount that I need, there are going to be some left over in this bag, which, what a shame. I'm also going to chop these up as well because I think they're just slightly too big. So I've chopped up the Reese's. I only did a rough chop because I like it when it's quite chunky. So I've got like quite a big bit there, that's about half, and then there's other little tiny bits. So now it's time to add this into the mix. Like with anything, do double check when it comes to allergens. I don't need to tell people who do have these allergies and intolerances, but yeah, double check. And now it's time to fold these in. So we just want these to be distributed throughout. We want all of that flour to be mixed in now. So now this is all done, it's all mixed in, so it's time to put into the baking tin. So I've greased this with butter and then I've lined it with baking paper, and now it's time to pour this in. It's quite a wet mix, so it should spread out on its own a little bit, and then I'll spread this out with a spatula because it hasn't quite got to the edges. I just made baking 101 error. I did not preheat the oven. Learn from my mistake. Preheat the oven at 180. So this needs to bake. It really depends on how squidgy and fudgy you like a blondie. So I would recommend 25 to 30 minutes. I'm going to put it in for 25 and then see how it looks. We want it to be slightly golden on top. When you press it, it might have a little bit of squidge to it, but it should still be quite firm. Out the oven, I just wanted to show a bit closer what it looks like. As you can see, it's nice and golden. It's got a nice crust on top. You can see around the outsides, it's a bit more browner. I'm just going to jiggle it and then you'll see it doesn't really wobble that much. There's no wobble there. However, when you poke it, it's still quite soft in the middle. Exactly how I like it because it goes nice and squishy in the middle. However, that might be too undercooked for some people. So yeah, cook it for an extra 2-5 minutes, whatever you prefer. So the blondie has fully cooled now, and I'm going to put a ganache on top. You don't have to do this. It can be left as it is, but I like the ganache because it kind of cuts through that sweetness a bit. So starting off with our chocolate, I'm using dark chocolate. So breaking that up into squares, and then adding cream. We're going to be using equal parts cream and butter. So I'm just chopping it up into chunks. Again, just melts more evenly, melts a little bit quicker too. Now I'm going to put this in the microwave, 30-second intervals, stirring after each interval. So I've got my blondie, and I've got my ganache. Now ideally you do want to leave this to cool for about from like 10-15 minutes, just so it thickens up a bit. This is mainly so you can make it look a little bit neater. I'm not really too bothered by that, so I'm just going to pour it on straight away. And then I'm going to get a palette knife. I'm using a cranked one. So that means, if you can see here, it's just got that little angled bit there. This is a lot easier to decorate with compared to one that's just completely flat. So what I like to do, it's kind of a bit hard to show because this is quite liquidy. I like to get my knife and then go zigzag across. Now I've done that, I'm going to put this in the fridge again. I'm leaving this to set overnight. You don't have to, it probably takes about an hour to set. I prefer blondies the next day. I think they just get nicer texture, all the flavours meld together. Oh, I will cut this up tomorrow. The next day, and I've chopped them up, and here is what they look like. Nice and gooey. They've got all the chunks of the Reese's in there. There's a big chunk of the white chocolate one in the corner on the bottom here. Obviously I've got to try one to see if they are any good. Cheers. So hopefully you enjoyed this, hopefully you make them. Let me know if you do, let me know if you've changed it at all. I really love bouncing ideas off of people. So I'm off to finish this and maybe eat another one.